Hey there, I'm your host Lisowi, and this is part 2 of our merchant series. So with that said, let's begin. So in the last video, we created the interaction system. So now we want to create the items to go along with it. So let's open up the content drawer, our inventory folder, item data, and inside we want to create all of that. So we'll go to blueprint, structure, let's call it s_inventory slot. So this is what the slot is going to represent. Now in here, we want two variables, one for the item ID, so name, and one for the item quantity. That will be an integer. Now for the names, we'll do item ID and item quantity. Save and exit. We need then another structure. This will be for the item details. So call it s_item details. Let's open that up. And in here, you want everything that the item has. So name, icon, etc. So in my case, we're only doing 4. We're going to do the item name. We will do the item icon, the item stack size, and the item value. Let's switch these around. It's nice if this is last. So item name will be a text. Now your item icon, you want to search for a texture 2D. This guy here. Object reference. Now the item value and the stack size will be both integers. So that's all you need. Save that. And because we have the item details, we can now create the data table. So right click, go into miscellaneous and search for data table. We want to select s_item details. That's our structure. Okay, and we'll call it dt data table _ item data. Now inside here, we can create as many items as we want. So let's add in a few. Let's add in money. And then I want 3 potions. So let's call the row name. This is the ID for the individual item. So this will be unique. So for money, we'll just call it gold coins. Descriptive enough. Then we'll have a, let's see, potion, large mana potion, that works. Large mana potion as the ID. We'll have regular health potion. And we'll have a small health potion. Now the item name will go in individually. Item name will be gold coins. Now the item icon we have already here. Gold coins. Here we go. So the item value will be 1 by default. Now we can change it later. Now the item stack size depends on you. If you type in 999 a few times and hit enter, it will give you the maximum amount. I usually do this for coins. For like the mana potions, let's do 5, 5, and 5. Let's go into each one. So this is our large mana potion. Item icon, mana. There we go, somewhere here. I have potion icon. There we go. I called it health large. Okay, that's my mistake there. Item value will have 60 coins for a large potion. Then for the health potion, we'll do regular health potion. Icon health. There we go. And item value will be 40. And for our small potion, we'll do small health potion. Item icon, we can do it again. Somewhere here. And let's say the value for individual will be 25. And that's all we got to do. Save and exit. Next, let's go ahead and open up our item data component. Now in here, we want to use the event interact with to pick up our items. Now for that, we want to get the player's inventory and add items to it. But first, we need to get that. We need to create the inventory component. So let's go to the inventory folder, right click and create a new blueprint class, actor component, and we'll call it PPC inventory. Just like so, save it and open it. And we want to create a function for ourselves called add to inventory. Now we'll come back to this function a bit later, but right now we want to create some inputs and outputs so we can use it in the item data. So in here, we want two inputs. Let's bring this out. We want one for the item ID, one for the item quantity that we'll pick up. Now the outputs, we want to know if there is any items left. So item quantity left. And we want to know if it was added or not, because the inventory could be full. So item quantity left will be an integer. Item quantity will be an integer again, and the item ID will be a name. And added is just a boolean. So we'll come back to that, compile and save. Now we have that. So another thing we can do to make our lives easier in the future is let's create a function library. So we'll go to blueprint, blueprint function library, call it bpfl_common. Now in here, we can make a function called get player inventory, and we'll do get player character, and we'll do get component by class. So every time we want to get the player inventory, instead of doing this multiple times in various blueprints, we can do it once here and just call this event. BPC inventory, check if it's valid, because it could be not. And then we'll return. So, and we can call this our player inventory. And we can make this a pure function. File and save. So now if we go back into, let's close this first, go back into our item data to get player inventory. There we have it. And from here, we can do add to inventory, calling that function we just made. So we want the item ID and the item quantity. So for that, we want to add two variables, which will be our item, and the type will be a data table row, like so. Oh, data table row handle, that's one. That's the one. And if we compile, it'll let us give some values. So by default, we want the table to be our item data always. And row name and the item data will leave blank. That will be for each individual item. And we want one more, the item quantity. Now you want this to be an integer, and you want this to be instance editable and exposed on spawn. The reason for that is we want this item not to be like by default, it'll be 1. But whenever you're setting an item in the world, you can manually change the value. So instead of picking up one item, maybe there's 5 in that one bottle, so it'll pick up 5. So that's that. Next, then we want to check if this has gone through. So we'll get a branch. But before we do that, we want to check if the item quantity is left 0 and if it was added. And boolean, because whatever we take, let's say there are 5 potions and we only took 4, we want to leave 1. That's all that is, and we'll connect that here. And we'll get the owner, which is the player, or not the player, the owner of this item component will be the item, and we'll do destroy actor. Otherwise, on false, we'll just set the item quantity to be whatever the item quantity is left. So, like so here. And let's clean this up. Like so. And that's looking a little bit better. Okay. So I believe that's all. Now the item ID and the item quantity. So let's get the item, break it apart. So here we have the row name. So yeah, we can actually just add that. And the item quantity is the item quantity. And let's hide unconnected pins. And that's our pickup function for the item. Let's compile and save. So with that done, next, let's go ahead and create our items. So let's go back into the inventory folder. In here, let's create a new folder called items. Open that up, and we'll create a new blueprint class, actor. And this will be our parent class. So we'll call it BP_actor. item underscore actor. And let's open that up. Now in here, we want to, first of all, add our interaction interface, so PPI interaction. And second of all, we want to add in our static mesh, so we know which item we're looking at. And to that, we can add in a sphere collision. This will just help our interaction system a little bit. Sphere collision. Now for both of these, for them to work, we need to make sure, well, static mesh doesn't really matter. Sphere collision does. So in here, we want to make sure that the collision presets are custom and we are blocking the interactive channel. Otherwise, our interaction system won't detect this at all. Compile and save that. So for our parent, this doesn't really matter what we put in here, but let's say we'll do small potion. That's how it's going to look like. And we'll go to the event graph. Now the lookat will be the lookat message displayed when we look at the site. So for that, we'll create a new function called getItemDetails. And in here, we want to get the item data component, which we didn't add. So let's add it, abc, item data. And we want to get it, do get item. We then want to break this apart to a get row from the row name. Put in our item data. Now, if you just do this, this will be left empty because we haven't currently added anything to this. So we'll just do that. Now it's blue. And once we return it, we can then plug this in. We'll go around and, oops, maybe not just yet. There we go. So we'll call this our item details. And we can make this a pure function as well. That's all we need. Compile that, close it, and back at lookat, we want to get our item details. Here we go. Break this apart. And in here, let's do a format text. And we want to know the name we're picking up and the quantity. So in here, we'll do take space, curly brackets, name, close curly brackets. We'll do then a space, regular brackets, curly brackets, quantity, curly brackets close, and regular brackets, like so. So let's put in the item name. Here we go. And the item quantity, which we need is from here. Oops, no, we have our component get item quantity. Here we go. And just like that, we're done. Hide unconnected pins. And voila, let's close, compile and save. So with the parent class done, we can go ahead and create a few children. So let's right click on this and create child blueprint class. Let's call the first one, let's do large health, large mana potion. Now the children we can duplicate. Make sure you don't duplicate the parent. We'll do regular health potion. And we'll duplicate once more for the small potion. We also want the money, so duplicate once more, and we'll just call it gold coins. So we want to go into each individual one and then add in our static meshes for it. So first of all, click on your item data component in your child, open the item and select the row name. So this is going to be gold coins. Now for the static mesh, we want to set this to be gold coins, of course. So we'll do gold coins. Here we go. That's our first item done. Then we'll go large potion. Again, item data component. Make sure you set the correct one. Large mana potion. Then the static mesh to large mana. Here we go. It's 2 done. We have regular open full blueprint, component, regular potion, and change this to be regular as well. And last but not least, we have our small potion. In here, we can change this to be small, and we can leave this as is. So file, save. Now, if we drag these out somewhere, so let's drag one on the floor. If you drag it up and press end, it should snap to the floor. Oops. Oh well, it snaps to the pivot point. So let's leave it there. Play. And now if everything is done correctly, it should show up. It doesn't. So let's see why that is. So I found the issue. In the previous video, when I was creating the interaction component, I made a mistake. On event begin play, I'm calling interaction trace, which executes this event once. We want to call begin interaction, so it keeps looping for us. Let's get begin interaction, add it in here, compile and save, and that will display the message for us like so. And there we go. Now, of course, we can't add it just yet. We can try to pick it up. We'll get an error because we don't even have the inventory in our player. So let's close that, open up our person. Still nothing should happen, but let's add in our component inventory. There we go. Now we should have no error, but logic won't work. So pick it up, close the game, nothing. Okay, so that's that. And in the next episode, we'll be actually creating the UI. And then in part 4, we'll create the logic to pick this up. So that's it. This is it for the video. I hope you enjoyed. And if you did, leave a like. And as always, happy developing.